Hi guys, how are you all today morning? Good morning. Today is 4th December 2023. My name is TSV Raghavan and I live in Chennai, Tamil Nadu, India. This is my spiritual vlog on YouTube. HARDAN, 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 Haribol, TSV Nectar, NECTAR, Nectar. In this particular vlog, in all my previous videos, we have been discussing about the knowledge and information that we have gleaned through the study of spiritual books, scriptures, contemplation on the material universe, and meditation on the spiritual universe. This particular video in this vlog is no exception to that rule. In fact, it is a mere continuation of all that we have been doing in all my previous videos. Kindly subscribe to this vlog and press the bell icon so that I may keep reminding you of all my previous, present, and future videos. So let us continue with the topic of discussion for today's video. In the past few videos, we have been discussing about a term called mind, which plays a very perennial role in the psyche and life of every human living entity, whether male or female, in a particular lifetime in this material world. Mind is actually the subtle form of the mass of tissue called brain, which is placed in the cranium of the gross body of every human living entity at the top in every human living entity, whether male or female. Mind includes the etheric body of five senses, namely sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, plus the astral body of actual mind being of feelings and emotions, and the causal body of intelligence and logic, which forms the first layer of the material body of a human living entity. Actually, we all know by now that when the spirit soul or the unevolved individual spirit soul, thinking that it can lord it over material nature, tries to get in touch with this huge, very powerful material world. The material world gets visibly irritated by such touch. When this happens, this material world, to avoid that irritation by that touch, surrounds this material, spiritual soul with four layers of material body, namely the causal body of intelligence, the astral body of mind, the etheric body of senses, and the gross body. When it does so, this spirit soul, which is now cocooned in these four layers of material body, loses its original identity and dawns a new one called a living entity in the material world. We are talking about this particular phenomena. We all know that in such a case, when the unevolved spirit soul becomes a living entity, it remains dormant in this material world for times immemorial till it finally gets acclimatized to the material world. Once it does so, it gets into a chain of infinite and repeated births and deaths in various species as a living entity and keeps on doing so in a rut till it finally gets birth in one of the 400,000 human species of birth. When this happens, the terms destiny and karma begin for that living entity. Here, its cerebral subtle faculties plus its gross body's faculties come to full bloom, and so vibrations from the three subtle bodies made up of ether, namely the causal body of intelligence, the astral body of mind, and the etheric body of senses, keep giving or transmitting vibrations to that mass of tissue at the top of the gross body called brain. This brain processes these vibrations and then extracts a particular resultant juice which is percolated down the gross body of every living entity. In other words, in every human living entity, whether male or female, there are three subtle bodies that send vibrations to this brain, which processes them and percolates the resultant juice to the rest of the body, and that particular living entity reacts according to that juice. Here, mind plays a very, very perennial role. Mind, which includes the causal body of intelligence, astral body of mind, and etheric body of senses, is of three forms. They are known as cautious mind, subconscious mind, and superconscious mind. Cautious mind usually relates to the etheric body of senses. The subconscious mind relates to the astral body of mind, and the superconscious mind relates to the causal body of intelligence of a living entity. Now we will talk in detail about this very powerful instrument called mind in every living entity. Memories of the conscious mind, subconscious mind, and superconscious mind decide upon the destiny or karma of every living entity. The destiny or karma of every living entity decides upon the final evolvement of that particular living entity, whether in the material plane or in the spiritual plane. Conscious memory is the memory caused by the actions and reactions of a living entity while he or she is living in this material world according to his or her mundane existence. The subconscious mind stores memories of the actions and reactions of a living entity which have not yet been worked out in that particular lifetime. Let us be more specific. Suppose a living entity works 10 jobs in a lifetime or 10 actions in a lifetime. Of these 10, suppose the reaction for 7 of these actions happen in that lifetime itself, then the conscious memory rejects or erases the action and reaction for that particular effort in that lifetime. There remain 3 actions which have to continue for the life of this living entity in other births too. In such a case, these 3 actions become a part of the subconscious memory of that particular living entity. Here we may also say that these 3 actions may be from etheric senses, from astral body of feelings and emotions, and the causal body of intelligence and logic. According to that subconscious memory, which is directly connected to the superconscious memory of that particular living entity, this particular living entity, after his or her passing away in a lifetime, takes another birth according to his or her prarabdha karma, which is a slice of these memories of sanchit karma or storage of karma in the psyche of that living entity. This is the very important role that the subconscious and superconscious mind of a living entity plays. In other words, it gives this person the foundation for his or her next lifetime. We have been talking about several case histories to authenticate this argument. In that process, we have tried to analyze the lives of Maha Avatar Babaji and a large extent of the life of Lahiri Mahashay, to whom Maha Babaji initiated the Kriya Yoga process of meditation to be spread into the humanity in this material world, both nationally as well as internationally. In my yesterday's video, we concluded with Maha Avatar Babaji initiating Lahiri Mahasaya into Kriya Yoga of meditation. Today we will continue with that story. When Lahiri Mahasaya was initiated with Kriya Yoga, he asked for permission from Maha Avatar Babaji that he could try to guide and teach Kriya Yoga to every average member of the humanity in the society, so that all deserving persons can benefit from the knowledge of Kriya Yoga. Maha Avatar Babaji, initially hesitant, ultimately agreed to this argument. Lahiri Mahasaya then returned to his Bengali Tola house in Varanasi and began selecting, training, and initiating deserving candidates towards Kriya Yoga. Of these, there were such exalted disciples as Panchanan Bhattacharya, Swami Sri Yukteswaragiri, and the mother of Sri Yogananda Paramhansa, called Prabhadevi, who was a very saintly and exalted lady trained in Kriya Yoga. Now we will talk about these disciples in detail. Panchanan Bhattacharya's mind was such that in some previous lifetime he had been initiated into spiritualism and meditation by his own efforts, karma, and destiny in that particular lifetime. This was the result or the cause of the result of his being chosen by Lahiri Mahasaya for initiation into Kriya Yoga of the school of meditation. In the Kriya Yoga school of meditation, importance is given to various types of breath and life thrown in in the gross and subtle body of a living entity to such an extent that when a person meditates according to Kriya Yoga, it is claimed that his or her self realization process speedens up many folds. Panchanan Bhattacharya, the living entity which was born as Panchanan Bhattacharya in this lifetime, was actually a very exalted soul spiritually. That was precisely the reason that though he was an ordinary flower seller in a shrine in Devghar, Bihar, he became a favorite disciple of none other than Lahiri Mahasaya, who initiated him into Kriya Yoga with a lot of care and affection. Panchanan Bhattacharya, once so initiated, began spreading this knowledge of Kriya Yoga through his own school of meditation in West Bengal, probably in the Behala district of Kolkata. Panchanan Bhattacharya, though was just an ordinary flower seller, was respected, revered, and followed by many exalted disciples from various schools of life in the material world and were looked upon for initiation into Kriya Yoga through his own knowledge and qualification. Same happened to Prabha Devi. She was very devout and a ardent follower of Kriya Yoga school of meditation. She was initiated into this type by Lahiri Mahasaya. He was such a saintly and exalted soul that probably he had been spiritually way ahead from other spiritualists, so that at a very young age he gave birth to several children who were also directly or indirectly influenced by Kriya Yoga. One of them was none other than Mukund Lal Ghosh, who later became famous as Swami Yogananda Paramhansa, who started the YSS Society of Kriya Yoga in Ranchi, Bihar, India. He became internationally famous and was responsible for spreading Kriya Yoga all around the world, so much so that today around 185 branches of Kriya Yoga are centered in various places all around the world in every continent and country. Here we will talk about Prabha Devi. Prabha Devi's mind was so exalted that her own subconscious and superconscious memory made her follow the path of spiritualism in such a way that directly or indirectly she came in touch with Lahiri Mahasaya despite their being thousands of miles apart. This Miss Prabha Devi lived in Bengal in the capital called Kolkata, whereas Lahiri Mahasaya lived in Bengali Tola in Banaras, which is the temple town of Uttar Pradesh, India. Yet they came into touch with each other due to divine intervention and destiny's call and asking, as a result of which she was initiated into Kriya Yoga. She mothered none other than Mukund Lal Ghosh, alias Yogananda Paramhansa. Now we will talk about another very exalted soul called Sri Sri Yukteswaragiri. Sri Sri Yukteswaragiri appeared in this lifetime as Priya Nath Karar, the son of a very wealthy and affluent businessman who had a lot of property, including land. So much so that this exalted soul, thanks to his subconscious memory about his own previous spiritualism, had to refrain from getting a job to earn his living and concentrate on spreading Kriya Yoga to his own disciples and followers. Priyanath Karar was so intelligent that he could speak in Bengali, Hindi, English and French, and he corresponded with several intellectuals and spiritualists from Europe and America even in the 19th century. He was known as Gyan Avatar. Lahiri Mahasaya, who initiated Kriya Yoga, was called Yog Avatar, and Lahiri Mahasaya was called Gyan Avatar. Though this man hardly studied any book except the scriptures of Hindu religion and other religions, yet he was extremely knowledgeable about spiritualism and Kriya Yoga. Not only did he practice this Kriya Yoga kind of meditation himself, but he also trained several of his own disciples, one of them being none other than Mukund Lal Ghosh. Mukund Lal Ghosh was a far more exalted spirit soul. His subconscious mind made him select Swami Sri Sri Yukteswaragiri as his own spiritual teacher. Sri Yogananda Paramhansa wanted to become just an ordinary monk who meditated in Himalayas, but his own subconscious mind and the will of his own spiritual teachers decided otherwise because they had other divine plans for him. We shall continue with the discussion on subconscious mind in my next video. This is all I wanted to talk about in today's video. Kindly let me know what you think of my talk on this particular case history and subject. Please give me your own expert thoughts, opinions, ideas, and views so that I may blend everything together for the sake of this society. Before concluding, let me remind you that I am also a published author with Amazon Kindle and paperback. I write on spiritualism, fiction, and assorted subjects. Spiritualism happens to be my favorite subject. Till we meet in my next video, it is good morning from TSV Raghavan.